Hi,
Hello,
I'm Julian.
I am Tom.
We are Team Binge. We are back to talk about another desert island. I guess to depart for another desert island. As we are waiting for the next seasons of things to show up, we like to do these exercises. So this desert island is sci-fi movies. And you'd think we gave ourselves a little bit tighter parameters than that. Tom asked for tighter parameters, but we said no because we don't make the rules. This is what was handed down to us from on high. So we are going to talk desert island sci-fi movies. And then we've got some categories that we'll hop into just to make it a little bit more fun. Tom, I did not have as much fun with this as I thought I was going to, just because it was difficult. And you know me, I don't like difficult things. I like an easy ride. Easy Rider, my number one choice for this. It's not a sci-fi movie. No, I don't think so, and I've never seen it. But was this difficult for you?
Listen, we had an early conversation talking about, well, let's do another desert island. What do you want to do? And I said, I will do anything, whatever you are passionate about. And you were all about sci-fi. Let's do some sci-fi movies. You had some clever ideas about these little fun categories, which we'll get into, that I thought could be fun. I went and looked at the Rotten Tomatoes, like top 150 sci-fi movies, scrolled through the full list to get an understanding of kind of some of the top ones. And I didn't struggle. I felt like I was able to come up with my list pretty easily. I liked these movies that I picked. I like the category stuff. And I had a good time. And I think I'm going to have a good time tonight. But you're worrying me a little bit, buddy.
Okay. Well, the court of public opinion, which we always throw ourselves at the mercy of, will probably get you real good when you find out all your choices are terrible. But
Gotcha girls are going to get me.
The gotcha girls are going to get you. Yes, that's right. All right. So, I mean, the premise of this is simple. If you're joining us for the first time, I'm so sorry. But the premise of this is simple. You're stuck on a desert island. What 3 movies are you taking with you? Some rules that we've put into place is that Tom and I can't pick the same thing. There's a middle island where these movies are stored. And so there's only one copy. And so I am very much afraid that we are going to step on each other's coconut-covered feet because that's what our footwear is made out of on these islands. And so I would actually like to go first. I typically like to let you go first.
Please, lead
but
off.
I would hop in and at least get one of mine before you kind of destroy my choices here. So I'm going to start off strong. I'm going to start off with a movie that we talked about kind of in one of the other Desert Island ones, but I'm taking The Matrix, Tom.
Okay.
This is 1999. It's Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, Joe Pantoliano, maybe, and I'm forgetting Trinity's name off the top of my head, but Carrie something, I believe. She is wonderful. This movie, I don't know if I saw this in theaters. If I didn't, shame on me. It was rated R. So in 99,
Was this R? What's
yeah,
it R?
it's R. I would have had to sneak, I think, in order to see it in theaters. So I want to say I saw this at someone's house once again, sneaking, probably that uncle that wasn't really an uncle that was constantly like, "Hey, come over and hang out in the basement with me." But anyways, really enjoyed this movie. And just blew my mind in terms of what it could do, like technology-wise, the world it built. Did you see this in the theaters? Was Matrix on your radar for this, Tom?
I didn't put it on my radar because of the fact that I brought it for the previous Desert Island. And what did I do it for? Desert Island Thriller? I can't remember what I did this for.
90s movies, probably.
Just
right?
90s? Okay. But yeah, I mean, I can't dog this just choice because I would have brought it as well. But I did not go Matrix.
I'm sorry, you did not even consider it. When I think of sci-fi movies, this is one of the...
I considered. I had it on my list, but I didn't want to do a repeat from my previous Desert Island, so I picked up some other ones.
Tom, do you remember the scene in the movie where they're shooting the bullets at him and the bullets go by him? Do you remember that scene in the movie? Because that's why The Matrix is awesome. And
I feel like the first Matrix was really good, where we had talked about this. The effects were just something else. They had never really been done before, and the camera work. Once they got into like the second and third one, it started to get into that uncanny valley where they were trying to do like full CGI of Hugo Weaving and Keanu Reeves, and it like kind of looked bad and doesn't look great nowadays. I think this first movie did a good job of finding that balance, and I think you can go back and watch it and still enjoy it and appreciate the effects.
Well, when's the last time you watched The Matrix? Because it hasn't been that long since I've watched it. And I'll tell you, it holds up. It still looks good. It still moves quickly. It's one that I have watched a lot in my life and will continue to watch on my desert island where I own it and you can't borrow it. And by the way, I'm not taking the trilogy of Matrix movies because you're right. The other ones were not great. I'm just taking the first one. The other two can stay in the middle island bargain bin and you can have them. I bet you're going to pick like the third one or second one because you're going to zag where everyone else would zig. And her name's Carrie-Anne Moss. I just want to point that out. She's wonderful.
There it is. Yeah,
I get to spend time on an island with Trinity. I'm not. Who's going to complain about that? Not this guy.
No
Am
way.
I going to be dressed up in black leather the whole time? You betcha. Just me on an island with coconut flip-flops and black leather onesie that I've gotten. And sweet shades. I mean, was there a better movie?
Ugh.
Name one movie that was better for sunglasses and cool cell phones than The Matrix. I'll wait.
I'll go ahead and give you a movie, which is my number one pick that had better cell phones. I don't know if it had better cell phones, but it definitely had better glasses. I chose for my number one by an inventive, funny, and breathlessly constructed is a rousing time travel adventure with an unforgettable spirit. I chose Back to the Future, 1985. Robert Zemeckis, Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Leah Thompson, Crispin Glover. This to me is, it's 1985. This is the year that I was born. I'll date myself a bit. So it was a little dated by the time I got around to it, but it's just a movie that I love. I think is fantastically written. Like to your point about pacing, I think it's paced really well. I could probably take all three of these movies with me to a desert island, but I chose just this top one because it was great. The way it dealt with time travel and the performances, it was a lot of fun. And maybe I'm getting this wrong because this Back to the Future probably didn't have the greatest of sunglasses, but I felt like Back to the Future 2 had those like really cool sunglasses that I want to say maybe I got like a pair in like a cereal box at one point that had like triangles on it and neon colors. Like that's my jam.
Tom, when's the last time you watched Back to the Future?
Oh, recently. Probably 6 months ago.
Okay. And it held up. You enjoyed it.
Yes, 100%. Absolutely. And like
It'd
to
be
me,
great
it's
if
a
you were like-
nostalgia.
It'd be great if you were like, actually, you're right, I didn't like it. So that would have been a great twist. But you didn't go
It's
there.
a nostalgia pick for me because it's like I grew up watching this. I think my older brother could recite the entire movie and not just like quote it, like he could recite it and write the whole script down if he wanted to. So it was just kind of one of those that was always on and I never really tired of it.
Huh. It's funny how older siblings will affect your movie taste in that way, because a lot of times that's how you're exposed to. There's a movie we're going to talk about later in this that is very much an older brother exposed me to it. That doesn't sound right. Exposed me to the movie. And anyways, Tom wasn't on my radar. Didn't even...
Okay.
I understand there is a lot of love for Back to the Future. I feel like Back to the Future is older than me in terms of I know I've seen it. There's never been a point in my life where I was like, you know what, I'm really jonesing for some Back to the Future. Mainly because the title's confusing, but that's fine. So I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad. Once again, I thought we were going to cross streams, but it doesn't look like we're going to cross streams. In fact, I think you and I are going to be very far apart on this. And it makes me feel good because I know I'm going to win. So I don't know how you win this exercise.
You said crossing streams. Are you hinting at? Did you choose Ghostbusters? That's a sci-fi.
Oh, it'd be a great transition. I would be a great podcaster if I had the same thought. Oh, I should just shoehorn Ghostbusters in here, but once again, not.
It's a bit early, right? It's early '80s or late '80s or whatever. It wasn't what we grew up with, so I kind of had it from my brothers.
Right.
But I didn't choose Ghostbusters. I just thought you might pigeonhole that in.
No. And I just don't think ghosts and spirits are a joke. That's all. I think we should take them serious. And
it's like Ted Lasso.
Yeah, exactly.
I just wanted to believe in themselves.
Believe in themselves. There's a deep cut. All right, Tom, I went first. You can go second.
Okay, I'll get my number 2. This smart, innovative, and thrilling movie is a rare summer blockbuster that succeeds viscerally as well as intellectually. I'm talking about the 2010 Christopher Nolan joint, Inception.
Nice. Very
Inception
nice.
to me is just such a cool movie. It's like so many movies are like the same plot rehashed over and over again. This concept and the way it was written by Christopher Nolan, I thought was so trippy and so well done. It is a movie I think you can watch over and over again because you're constantly picking up like little things, like when they're in a dream, when they're within the dream of the dream. Obviously, a fantastic cast with Leo DiCaprio, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Elliot Page, Cillian Murphy, among to name just a few. So it's up there for one of my favorites, and I can watch this over and over again.
It's a great movie. It's on my list. I did not choose it. I had a question about what defines sci-fi, and Lord knows I'm not prepared to get into it. But I was like, Inception doesn't have any spaceships. There's no real like strong technology to it. I guess you could say the sleeping machines are maybe a technology.
I would argue that's a very science fiction-y type of concept, but go on.
Sure. No. I'm not saying you're wrong, and I'm not saying it doesn't fall in this category.
Kind of sounds like it.
I think if you look it up, it is a sci-fi movie. But I was like, okay, am I going heavy? Like, I don't know. Am I having? There's no aliens in it. There's no space. Not that space is real. But the. And that's what makes fiction, science fiction. Space isn't real. Anyways, it's a great movie. It was on my list. I guess it's not. I just wonder if when people think of sci-fi, whether or not Inception is one that they go to, or whether or not it's just. I
had the same conversation with my wife, like asking like what was her top sci-fis, and she's not a sci-fi fan in general. But like I told her, like science fiction is just that. It's something that does not exist in our real world. So it doesn't have to be space and lasers and robots and that kind of stuff to be considered science fiction. But I certainly understand your sentiment.
And once again, I'm not arguing with you. I think it's a great pick. It's a great movie. In terms of like how it's acted, I've watched it recently, and I think you and I have had discussions about our love for Christopher Nolan's movies. I could start naming them right now, but we won't. And I'm not even a big Leonardo DiCaprio guy, but he's great in that movie. And you get Tom Hardy doing just charming Tom Hardy stuff, which is a lot of fun. And then Tom Berenger. When's the last time you got to see Tom Berenger other than in Gettysburg where he plays Longstreet?
Good call back.
Everything goes back to Longstreet.
All right, so there you go. That's my number 2. What do you got for number 2?
All right. I didn't do movie phone voice introductions for all of mine, so you did
should
for
have.
yours. Yeah, thank you. I would be pressing 1, and I would be getting tickets for The Edge of Tomorrow. I think there's more to that title. It's like Live, Die, Repeat, Die.
No, that was the whole thing. It's
Tom
like
Cruise, McQuarrie,
everybody made
joint.
Everybody made fun of the movie because of the title being so goofy, because like all the posters very prominently said like live today, die tomorrow or something like that. But anyway, sorry, I interrupted.
No, it's okay. Edge of Tomorrow, if you haven't seen it, which I'm sure most of our audience has, is a Tom Cruise movie that's not a Mission Impossible movie. Although there is some overlap in terms of Christopher McQuarrie, who writes and directs the Mission Impossible movies as of late, was a writer on this. It's directed by Doug Liman, who did Bourne Identity, and then he did a movie. I don't know where your opinion lies on this, but I have a deep, deep love for a little movie called Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
I do know this about you.
He directed that movie, and so great action movie director. I think my idea, kind of like with Groundhog's Day on our other desert island, is the premise of Edge of Tomorrow is he's literally living the same day over and over again. It's got this fun like video game feel where he's got to, I mean, if this was a video game, I'd pop smoke on it immediately. I can't stand games that are like grind it out and try and, that's why Elden Rings has got about half an hour of playtime. on my Xbox. Those are some video game nerd comments, but Edge of Tomorrow, great action. It's got Emily Blunt. I'm a huge fan of Emily Blunt, and I don't know, just very cool action. I think the back end of it, which I don't remember all that well, is kind of your typical sci-fi. They've got to beat the big bad in the end, but everything like in the beginning, it's just Tom Cruise being charming, dying over and over again, which he doesn't let himself do in any other movie. In this movie, he gets killed repeatedly and enjoys it. But I think he ultimately knew he was going to, live to the end. So just a fun movie. Do you have thoughts on Edge of Tomorrow?
Yeah, that made my honorable mention. Wasn't in my top 3, but definitely made my honorable mention, to your point. Like, great acting. I thought it was a very fun, unique story. I like the timey-wimey aspect of it. It is interesting that you chose another desert island movie that, similar to Groundhog Day, is just repeating the same thing over and over again, which I imagine might drive you a little crazy on a desert island, having to watch not only the same movie over and over again, but then the same sequences happening over in the movie. Maybe that's like your plan. You're trying to relive yourself living on the island over and over again, which,
Sure.
Inception style, very well done.
Sure. Yes, thank you. It is all intentional because I can go from Groundhog's Day to Edge of Tomorrow to Groundhog's Day to Edge of Tomorrow. Although, ultimately, if all of our desert island choices, we get them from all the other categories, I think the exercise kind of falls through. Because we've got 400 movies on this desert island.
Well, let's be honest. Every category we've ever chosen for these desert island things, we're generally picking 2 to 3 anyways, so we don't stick to our rules.
Sure.
There is a return policy with the parrot at the middle island.
That's right. All right, so let's go on to choice number 3, and this one is, I don't know if you're gonna agree with me that this is a sci-fi movie, mainly because the creatures in it are maybe more fantasy, because they never existed. But I'm going with Jurassic Park, the 1993 Spielberg movie. I know dinosaurs aren't real. They're just something that someone put the bones in the ground for us to discover. I don't want to get into it right now. But great movie, very rewatchable. I've watched it, I don't know, hundreds of times. Still holds up, even though it's like early dinosaur CGI and still practical. A lot of fun, acting, and you get to see Newman get his comeuppance from that dinosaur that spits glue. And I've always enjoyed that. So Jurassic Park. I would argue this is a nostalgia pick for me because this was a movie that we had on VHS and the fact that the tape didn't go bad is incredible.
Yeah, I think this is what I picked for our 90s desert island. And again, can't harm this pick, but it's interesting that you would say you're considering this sci-fi, but not so much Inception. Because I'm with you. I still think this falls in the sci-fi category, but isn't the robot, laser beam type sci-fi that I thought you were trying to adhere to. Unless the dinosaurs are like spewing laser beams out of their eyes, because that'd be pretty dope.
Well, Tom, I don't want to break any news to you, but if you know where dinosaurs originally came from, space, then this fits into the sci-fi category.
Okay.
I've been watching a lot of the History Channel, which is now just TV shows about ancient aliens, and dinosaurs came from space. You ever seen Dino Riders, Tom? That's an old cartoon from our childhood. Yeah.
Weren't the dinosaurs on the Ark? Noah's Ark?
Well, only 2 of them.
Okay.
A male and a female one so that they could repopulate the rest of the world. But they got here by spaceship. Anyways, was Noah's Ark a spaceship? I don't know. I don't know what Genesis says about it. Who knows? We'll never know.
All right, but I like it. I think you got a solid top 3, and I would watch all those films. But
can I interrupt you real fast? You made a comment. Did I pick 2 of your movies from our 90s desert island? Am I just borrowing from your island?
Yeah, you did. You think when we record a podcast, we want to give the audience a little bit different conversation each time? But no. We could just have the same exact conversation with you this time around.
Oh man, you'd think I'd be better at this. This is what I'm saying. This was difficult for me. Give your third one, and then I'll talk about some honorable mentions.
So the third one is one that did not immediately come to mind, but as I was doing research for this, I'm like, oh yes, I loved this movie. So it's a 2014 movie, leans heavier on ideas than effects, but it's still a visually polished piece of work and an uncommonly engaging sci-fi feature. I chose the Alex Garland 2014 movie Ex Machina with Domhnall Gleeson, Oscar Isaac, and Alicia Vikander. I loved this movie. I thought it was just so simplistic in its presentation. Oscar Isaac is just giving this performance that is just so unnerving and creepy as he's just testing out, this Domhnall Gleeson. And Domhnall is fantastic. I think we talked about that show on Hulu we watched recently, The Patient, I think, where he kind of plays like a murderer. The guy is just all sorts of talent. And then obviously Alicia Vikander is so good playing this AI trying to learn and become a real person. It's cool. It's a cool movie. It's shot really well. I really like Alex Garland. He did some other kind of trippy sci-fi things like Annihilation that I really dug. But Ex Machina I would put up there with one I would very much enjoy watching over and over again.
See, I really like the movie too. It is a great movie. But Tom, stuck on a desert island, do you think you're watching Ex Machina over and over again? I don't know. That one's dark. It's got a dark.
That's fair. It's got dark twists. Again, I figure if I watch this enough, maybe I can build my own AI robot. That's my thought. Will it happen? I don't know. It's like when I chose Breaking Bad. Can I make blue meth? I don't know. But the only way I'll know for sure is if I watch this 5,000 times.
Yeah, my issue is if you had Ex Machina on repeat and you were like, "Hey man, come on over and hang out," I'd be like, "Nope, you're gonna kill me and make me into a robot." And then I don't look nearly as good as the robot in that movie. So,
well, you wouldn't be a robot; you'd be a cyborg. So, strikes 1 and 2.
I'd be a dead corpse stuffed with coconuts that you claim as science. So,
I'll touch the coconut and I'll be like science.
I would be very lumpy, more lumpy than I am now. It would be the. All right. I like it.
I hear you. It's a fair point. It's a movie I very much enjoy, and it could be one that I might get a little tired of, but I loved it so much when I saw it running through the sci-fi list. It made my top 3. Any other honorable mentions?
Yeah, I mean, I thought about the Aliens movies, 1, 2, and 3. Recently watched them. They're all great, but once again, pretty dark, pretty grim, and they're more horror in terms of, and I'm like, if I'm in the dark on a small island with one coconut tree and a murderer an island over who's trying to make me into a robot, then I would probably not pick those. The Martian came to mind. I don't know where you land on The Martian as a sci-fi movie, but that one might hit too close to home because you're stuck on a desert island wondering if you're ever going to get rescued, and he's stuck on Mars wondering if he's ever going to get rescued.
Got to science the heck out of it.
Yep, and then the last one I'll mention was Independence Day. I gave Independence Day some thought because it is, a lot of fun. It's one I watched a ton when I was a kid. But in light of, that guy slapping all those people, I didn't know whether or not I could justify having Independence Day on my desert island. True. And then the only other one I want to mention was Looper. But I've only seen that one time, and I really liked it, but I've never gone back. So probably not great to take to a desert island because I might discover on the third watch I hate it, and then I've only got 2 movies. So
I put Looper on there too as a potential honorable mention. I think it was a really cool, like the practical effects they had for Joseph Gordon-Levitt and like the makeup to make him look like a younger Bruce Willis was just super cool. And again, it was a fun, interesting, unique story you hadn't seen before. The only other one that you didn't mention that I had on mind would be District 9. There's a Neil Blomkamp movie, which I just thought was so cool. Like the way they blended the alien special effects where they're just kind of like these bug creatures but are very like humanoid, and the way they reacted to it, like it's kind of being like, what would we really do if aliens get stranded on here, and like more or less treat them like, third world citizens and put them in camps, and like it was just a really interesting take. And is it Sharlto Copley? There's been a handful of those movies. He's just a fantastic and fun actor. So those are my top lists.
Yeah, I thought about that one, but I was like, do I want to be taught a lesson about humanity every time I watch a movie? And I was like, no, let's just watch The Matrix. That doesn't teach me anything.
Smart.
So, categories we went to, and by the way, for those of you that are listening and want to play along, we'd love to hear your top 3 choices. I'm sure there are people out there that are screaming at their car radios, their CB radios, whatever it is they listen to this on, that we did not mention one of the great sci-fi movies. But hold off, because we're going to go through some other categories and your movie might be mentioned, but we'd love to hear from you. You can send us your list at teambingepodcast@gmail.com, or I like how news articles do this on X, formerly known as Twitter, like as if the world doesn't know what they mean. It's like a passive-aggressive way that newspapers are like, we can't believe you changed the name, dummy. Anyways, our categories, Tom, are coolest world. So you take a sci-fi movie and it's like the coolest universe. Coolest...
Oh, wait a minute. Okay.
Yep,
no,
ahead.
I took it a different direction. I thought like physically the coldest. So, okay. Keep going.
So you're going with Torture, what is it? Scorcher 4, who left the fridge open from Tropic Thunder?
Tropic Thunder.
That's what you're going with?
No, I went Snowpiercer.
And
But anyways, keep going.
And then he saved the world 4 more times. All right. Anyways, coolest crew. So a lot of these sci-fi movies, because they're on spaceships, although some of them aren't, you get to hang out with a crew. And it was like, all right, what crew would I want to hang out with the most? And then we chose one that was no thank you, which just means you couldn't pay me $40 billion to go live in this world because it just seems so terrible. So no thank you. And then the last one was, where do you think you'd thrive? If you were thrown into one of these worlds, where do you think would be your jam where you would just be like, this sounds awesome? And so, Tom, we've done something terrible.
Go.
Tom, we have not mentioned Star Wars at any point during the course of this conversation.
We haven't done anything terrible.
Okay, all right, we're fine then.
Listen,
good.
Star Wars is fine. It's fine. You know, email us, chat our social medias, whatever. Tell us we're wrong, but it's fine. It's fine. Star Trek, it's fine. It's fine.
Oh wow. Okay. You can direct those. Just put attention, Tom, in your emails, please, so that I don't have to read them.
Listen,
All
maybe
right.
they'll come up in our categories. So you start us off. What's the coolest world? What world would you want to be in?
Okay, see, here's what I want to define here. Is it coolest world in terms of, hey, that concept was like awesome that they created it, or is it like coolest world where it would be fun to live in? How did you take this?
I took it as the coolest world that you are living in.
Okay.
Because that's what you told me to do.
Okay, wonderful. And these rules were set way before Tom and I got a hold of them. So, okay, here's what I chose. And based on what you just said, you're not going to agree with me. But okay. I'm taking the Star Trek 2009 J.J. Abrams movie, the world that they built in that. There is something... First off, I really like that movie. I think it's extremely well done. I know the timey-wimey stuff gets confusing in it. But like, I didn't grow up on Star Trek. I don't think other than being forced to be in a sci-fi club in like middle school and they played some Star Treks, I never watched the TV show. I love J.J. Abrams. Chris Pine, everyone else in this movie was just very charming and very fun. I like the idea of like, hey, you're an explorer vessel, you get to go to all these crazy places, and instead of wiping everyone out, you're like providing humanitarian aid or discovery, that sort of thing. So I like that idea of a world where inevitably they get into some... I mean, you can't bring peace without bringing a little war, right? I mean, that's just that's a proverb from the good book. But several different good books, in fact.
That's scientific fact, not sci-fi.
Okay. So anyways, I just... I don't like the idea of being away from my family for like years and years and years, if Interstellar has taught me anything. But I do like just the world they build. There's a lot of cool aliens. And I think this conversation makes me think about like Star Wars, whether or not Star Wars was kind of the same. But I'll let you go. What was your coolest world?
No, I'll just make a point. I think I grew up more on Star Trek than I did Star Wars. Our family was really big into Next Generation, and Patrick Stewart as our Picard. Like, we got around the TV on whatever night that aired, and we would watch. So I know that universe. I know that world. I think I like what you're saying, and the updated version of it, I think, was fun and paid good homage to a lot of the previous Star Trek. So it's a fine pick. My coolest world, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
All right.
My pick is maybe a little out there, and I went with Blade Runner, 1982 Blade Runner.
Okay.
I feel like the aesthetic of these is just so cool and trippy, and this, the 1982 version of like what they thought the future was going to be, with like high rises everywhere, constantly raining, neon lights on everything, and just like street vendors and robots serving our every whim. Like I feel like it's just so interesting, unique. I feel like I'm kind of a tech nerd at heart and would love the oddball tech that the 1980s thought we'd have in the future. I think that'd be a fun world to live in.
Sure. So I watched Blade Runner for the first time probably like in the last 2 years or something like that. I had not seen it growing up. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was like moody and trippy. I understand why it's like a sci-fi classic. Mm-hmm. But I have this picture in my mind, and sorry for spoiling a 50-year-old movie, but at the very end, the bad guy gets like shot in slow motion and a dove flies and it's like raining, and I don't know. It was very strange, almost John Woo-ish. With all the birds flying, but maybe I watched a weird director's cut. I don't know. I didn't.
There is a weird director's cut that I think either goes on longer or has a change entirely at the end. I don't know enough about it. Like, I didn't pick this movie to be my favorite. I think it's fine, but I like the idea of this world and just like the, not steampunk, but just like the goofy, weird, futuristic.
It's like really slummy, Tom. It's like,
I know.
You get like robots will let you do. You're like Phil Dunphy from Modern Family. You want that fully articulating robot that he talks about all creepily. I don't. Okay, fine. I won't judge you based on your wrong choice.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm trying to go to other worlds and spread humanitarian effort and aid, maybe a little religion. If they'll listen, otherwise we'll throw them off the ship. But, yeah, okay, and you just want to go to a slummy, rainy town.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I love some rain. Listen, I live in the desert, man. If I can get some rain, sounds lovely.
It hasn't rained in forever out here. It shan't ever rain again. All right, let's go to coolest crew, Tom. I will pass the torch to you, my friend. You're watching these movies, you're like, man, if I was hanging out with those guys, that would just be the bee's knees, as you like to say in most sci-fi movies.
All right, I don't know if you could really call this isn't like a Star Trek kind of crew where you have like the normal 5-6 people. This is a movie that I very much enjoy. I think it's very funny and silly, based off a book written by Douglas Adams. I'm going Hitchhiker's Guide of the Galaxy.
Nice.
You got Zephod Beetlebrox, Ford Perfect, played by Mos Def, Trillian, Zooey Deschanel, Marvin the Paranoid Android, played the voice acted by Alan Rickman, which I love, and then Eddie the Computer, voiced by, I didn't even realize this, by Tom Lennon. They're just a wacky, goofy crew. I mean, you open up the doors in the spaceship and they go, like it just seems lovely. And I feel like it'd be a fun gang to hang around, especially Zephod. He's just Sam Rockwell really going for it in this movie, and it was a lot of fun.
Tom, I've got something to admit. I've never seen it. I've never seen it.
Oh, you haven't?
I think I tried to read the book and I couldn't do it. So
it's wacky. Like even the movie, it like jumps all around the place. You could tell it's written like it is based off of a book. The way some of the scenes are shot, but everybody that's acting it just really goes for it, and it's a lot of fun. And I didn't mention, I think it's got Martin Freeman in it too, but he kind of plays the fish out of water.
It's very British, right, in terms of humor. Am I wrong on that? It's written by a British guy, is it not?
Yeah, I think it does have quite a bit of like slapsticky kind of stuff. So yeah, but I couldn't tell you exactly who wrote and directed it.
All right, well, that is a great choice. even though I haven't seen the movie, so I can't judge it one way or another. It could be a terrible choice.
It was a fine choice.
It was a fine choice. It was an average choice. It was a choice I can't speak to. What I can speak to is the crew that I want to hang out with. Now, my gut said the Matrix crew, but since we've already been chastised for picking the Matrix, I'm going to pick my actual number one choice, which is a movie I really liked and the world turned on it, and whatever. You can send me your emails. But I'm going to hang out with J-Law and Chris Pratt as a passenger on the movie Passengers.
What?
Here's how this plays out.
There's nobody in this movie.
Here's how this plays out.
There's a crew of 3.
Hear me out. Okay. So Chris Pratt wakes up accidentally in his little space pod. Obviously, he releases J-Law. That's the whole movie. In my version, as he's walking around, he's like, oh, who's this guy? He looks like fun. He looks like a guy that could probably produce a podcast on this ship that we get to listen to each day, and he talks about nonsense. So he jams a screwdriver into my sleep pod. I pop out, and then it's me, Chris Pratt, and J-Law just like swimming laps, running track, planting trees. Sure, they have a falling out at a certain time, and, you know, that can be messy as the third guy. Maybe me and J-Law... I don't know. Maybe something happens there. Maybe I'm the shoulder to cry on. Also, I get to hang out with that bartender robot. And, I have an affinity to alcohol. So,
and British people.
And robots. So, I get to hang out there. Isn't that the same guy
it's a Doctor Who guy, isn't it? I don't know.
Anyways, I'm hanging out with him. The spaceship's saved. The 4 of us, 3.5 of us, because he's not a real person, all hang out until we all die of old age, or one of us murders one of the other 2 because he's been left out of the love triangle and he's jealous and upset.
I feel like you're missing, wasn't Lawrence Fishburne like the captain? He was the other crew member, so I guess you could still have a little bit of Matrix ties.
I'll be like, Morpheus, and he's like, I don't know, I have heart disease, and then he dies. And you're like,
I do appreciate you choosing a movie for best crew that you'd want to hang out with. About a movie that is specific about no crew.
Here's the other part of this. They have their romance, and I just get the whole other part of the ship where I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to read books and shoot hoops and not be bothered by any of you. So, and then when the ship lands, there's just me doing a solo podcast. The dream I've always had, Tom, where it's just me talking into a microphone with no guest co-host. And there's, I don't know, conservatively based on my alcohol consumption, 30 years of that. Maybe 25. Who knows? Depends on the
going out into the ether of the universe.
Yes,
I love it.
That's exactly right. So I'm choosing the crew of Passengers. I'm not going to lie, Tom, I actually do like that movie. So I know the world turned on it, but I enjoy it.
That movie's fine.
It's fine. Good.
All right, no thank you. I'm going first on this one. My no thank you movie, or a world that I would not want to live in, 100% Mad Max Fury Road, 2015. Wow. I'm from the desert. We live in Arizona, so I'm okay with the desert. I'm not okay with the heat or not having any drinkable water. I feel like I drink constantly. I need my water.
Me too.
I'm also not a handy guy. I feel like of the 2 of us, you could probably swing a wrench and fix a car or 2.
Yep, swing a wrench.
I feel
That's
like
what we say.
I would.
Hey, throw me that wrench. I got to swing it. That's what we say to each other.
This is exactly why I would perish almost immediately in this world. So, no thank you, Mad Max Fury Road.
I don't know where you stand on that movie. I've seen it once. I don't really understand the whole aesthetic of it all. Like the guys with guitars and the weird... Like, who lives in this world and who would ever live like that? So I'm with you. It seems like a terrible place, but it's the wrong answer. The right answer is, the no thank you of it all is... Minority Report, because we all want to live in a world where you can at least murder someone if you need to. No, that's not the real answer. The real answer is A Quiet Place, Tom. A Quiet Place is a big no thank you for me. Although it would be really quiet and there wouldn't be many children around. So, No, I'm going to stick with A Quiet Place. It seems terrible. Honestly, watching that movie and I think something John Krasinski did well in terms of upping the stakes without making it exploitive is bringing the kids into it. Because a lot of times when you're in a apocalyptic or end of the world type situation, they don't bring like kids into it. It's just like a lone person and I don't know, something I think The Quiet Place did well as a movie in order to up the stakes, certainly. As someone who has to take care of children, is bring that in. And this would be a world where I would be a big no thank you.
I like it. Although you do love like playing the drums and the guitar and, building playgrounds and stuff like that. So I would imagine this would be tough.
Yeah, just living quietly. I hate building playgrounds, Tom. If there's one thing you should know about me, I'm in the process of it, and I hate it. So that was my no thank you. So you would take yours over A Quiet Place is a sci-fi movie, right? That counts?
Oh, yeah, 100%. They're monsters in it, man. Monsters aren't real.
Did you see the second one? I never saw the second one.
Yeah, watch the second one. It was fun. It's not as good as the first, but it was a lot of fun still.
Got it. I like to mix it in there when I'm watching The Office, just to remind me that they're a shared world. All right, last category, and then we can go to bed. Tom, in what world do you feel... I'm going first, aren't I? In what world do you feel like you would thrive in? Thanks for asking, Tom. I'll go first.
You could have just reworded that by saying, what world do I think I'll thrive in? But go on.
Tom, not a professional. New to this. Haven't been doing it with you for years. Podcasting,
Are you my co-host? Are you my co-host?
Yes, I am today. The world I would thrive in, I will go with my top choice, even though I had several. I'd be a great dinosaur, was what I was going to say. But...
You got to grow up.
I just wanted to grow up to be a dinosaur. That's Step Brothers, right? Yes. Oh, man. All right. Equilibrium, Tom. Equilibrium is a movie I've been waiting to talk about. This is Christian Bale, Taye Diggs, Sean Bean. This was like the nerd independent studio Matrix attempt, I guess. I mean, they didn't have nearly the budget, but for those of you that haven't watched it, go watch Equilibrium. It's a great movie. This is a world I would absolutely thrive in. I would be an incredible cleric. I would run around. I would make sure anything that evokes emotions in people was either burned or destroyed. I would find someone laughing or crying, and then I would send them to the gulag. I love Big Pharma. I mean, you got to take a drug once a day so that you don't have emotions. I don't even know that I would need the drug. I think I'd be like, I'm good today. Can I just go take out some books? I look, as we've established, great in black leather. Just in this one, I get to wear a long black leather coat. I don't know. This movie's incredible. I'm joking, but I think you and I have talked about it before. I always feel like when I watch these movies, I'd be the guy that was like, yeah, I'd enlist to be part of the Empire. I'd be a pretty good stormtrooper, good benefits, that sort of thing. So yeah. I'm going with I'd thrive in Equilibrium as a cleric, and there's no such thing as being a bad person in it because there's no emotions. So
yeah, no, you're good.
Doing my
I
job.
like it. Yeah, it's very was it Orwellian? It's like 1984, Fahrenheit 451. Yep. The idea of just burning everything that is considered, I guess, art or whatever, or brings emotion.
Evokes emotion because out of emotion comes war and violence. So we get rid of those things we don't feel, and everything goes to normal, and everything's good. In fact, I'm going to watch this movie again because just talking about it. I mean, Sean Bean is incredible in it. He's quoting
very quickly
Yeats. Don't spoil it for people, Tom.
It's a Sean Bean. We know he's not going to survive the movie.
Tread softly, for you tread on my dreams. I mean, just incredible. Christian. This may have been my first experience with Christian Bale, if I'm being honest, because I think this was before Batman. But anyways, where are you thriving, Tom, if it's not Equilibrium with me, you being the Taye Diggs to my Christian Bale?
Well, like we said earlier, I feel like I'm a tech nerd. I would very much thrive in a world that is full of tech. I also feel like I'd be really good at like a computer that has some sort of like finger hand waving type user interface. I'm going with Minority Report.
Nice. I like it.
I feel, having a world that doesn't have murder sounds like a good idea. How we get no murder doesn't sound like a great thing, of like taking 3 cogs or whatever they're called, precogs, that, I don't know, are tortured into seeing death all the time. I'm not going to focus on that part. I'm going to focus on the cool technology. And I still want to get one of those computers that allows me to move my hands and twist them and zoom in and out. I love those little eye robots. I think I'll make like an army of those little eye scanning robots just to, I don't know, feed me food and clean my dishes and stuff. But fun world.
I can't believe you believe in pre-crime. I can't. People should be able to commit crimes, Tom. What if they want to change? What if they're going to change their mind at the very last moment and they're like, nope, pre-crime?
That's what they all say. That's why they get the halo, man. It's not it's pre-crime, but it's pre-murder. You can do petty crime as much as you want. Steal from a local grocery store. I don't know. Do those drugs, those cool little like whippet drugs that he was doing.
Sure.
Watch your son on some sort of weird 3D disc thing that is apparently still around in those days. So I'm in.
All right.
No report, baby.
All right, you've got me in when you said I could do minor crimes. Maybe not the majorest of ones. What's funny is the blonde guy that's one of the cops with him, the actor's name is Neil McDonough, something like that. He's Buck Compton in
Band of Brothers, yeah.
Band of Brothers. He's also in Justified. We just finished the season with him in it, and that actor's great. I wish he was in more things. He's in Yellowstone, too. But anyways, good pick. I like it. I do think you would thrive. You would thrive. As a bonus, Tom, and I did not bring up this category earlier, but I'm bringing it up now. As you were looking through these movies, did you discover there was like a sci-fi movie out there that you had not seen that you would choose, that you were curious about?
Two came across my list. One is, it's the number one movie that I've seen on a handful of lists, which is 2001: A Space Odyssey, and it's Stanley Kubrick.
Yep.
It's supposed to be incredible. I felt like I tried to watch this a handful of years ago, and it took so long to get going. Like every scene just went on forever, and I was just I couldn't do it. I couldn't get into it. So maybe one of these days I'll put it on and watch it all the way through. There's another one I saw called Brazil, apparently a 1985 movie directed by Terry Gilliam, who did like Monty Python, 12 Monkeys, Fear and Loathing in Vegas. It seemed like just the box art of it, the tagline, we talked about an Orwellian fantasy with audaciously dark comedy filled with strange, imaginative visuals. It just seemed trippy and was pretty high on the sci-fi list that I saw. So have you ever heard of that movie or seen it?
I have not seen that one, have not heard of it. I'm with you on 2001: A Space Odyssey. That one I started, and there's like a long oneer as they're like going through the spaceship in the beginning, and I think I fell asleep. And then I know that Hal, the computer, talks, and bad things happen, but I don't.
Kubrick's just too weird for me. Like, The Shining was good.
The Shannon boy. You want us to get sued?
It's just, I don't know. The guy's just a whack-ball, like the way he directs and makes his people do scenes like 100 times until he feels like he got it exactly right. It's just, I don't know. It's goofy, but it's clearly an art to what he does, and people love it. So, like The Sopranos for TV shows, I feel like at some point I need to do myself a service and actually watch it all the way through. It's not terribly long. It's like 2 hours and 19 minutes, which by today's standards is a short film.
Man, bring back the 90-minute movie. I like the streaming services that are like, here are the 90-minute movies, and you're like, great, I'll make it through at least half of this before falling asleep. The only one I was going to mention, Tom, was I have not seen Blade Runner 2049, the Ryan Gosling, I guess. It's not a remake, it's a sequel to Blade Runner. I have not seen that one. I know it is like well done. I think it's the same director that did Dune, if I'm not mistaken.
Dennis Villeneuve.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's the one. No, I'm glad you tried it because I was not going to. But I think it's supposed to be good, but it's also like a 3-hour-long movie, and that's what has stopped us short, I think, at different times. But I'm going to give that one a go. One other one I wanted to mention, just one that I think we've both seen, and I would like to recommend it because I don't know if it just didn't hit people's radar, and it would have been during prime our like age of watching these movies, but it's Sunshine, which is a Danny Boyle movie. It was 2007. It's the one where the sun is going out and they have to reset it. And it's got Cillian Murphy and Rose Byrne, Chris Evans in it, and they're the crew that's been sent out to restart the sun. And it is a really fascinating movie. Like, very trippy, very moody, but like some cool action, a lot of guys stuck on a spaceship for a long journey, and it looks like it might be a one-way ticket, all that stuff. So just
But you haven't seen it though? This is just one that looked interesting.
No. I've seen it once. I thought you and I had talked about it previously, but I would highly recommend it. It was one that I considered talking about for different categories, and it's one I only saw it in the last couple years for the first time, and I just don't know how I missed it, but it is quite good. Tom, I think the next ones we do are going to be horror. I think we're going to do a horror desert island, and I'm just not going to pick anything. That's
I was going to say, I'm not a huge horror guy. We talked about this on the House of Usher pods that we did. It's fine, but it's not a genre I grew up on.
Yeah, you mentioned The Shinnin', and I'd just pick that one. But I wouldn't watch it. It would just be on my island. I'd use it as a coaster for my coconut water. Anyone that came by, I'd be like, oh, did you want to borrow it? Because I'm not going to watch it. So anyways, send us your choices. We'd love to hear from you. It's fun to see what other people are thinking. And don't feel like because we chose it, you should not choose it when you send us our choices. Much like I stole 2 of Tom's from the 90s movies. You guys can choose the same ones as us. We like when people agree with us, but we love more when people disagree. So, Tom, what did I miss?
Follow us on the socials. You had mentioned the Team Binge podcast at Gmail, but we have social, we have Twitter, we have Instagram at Team Binge or Team Binge Podcast. If you enjoy our show and like it, please tell your friends or go on a podcasting app like Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. Let us know that we're doing a great job. Only 5 stars. If you're going to leave us 4 or less, jog on. But otherwise, it's been fun. We're probably going to get a new show. There's a lot coming out here in November. So I think we're close to finalizing what we are going to do for our next episodic pods. Keep in touch. Follow us on those socials, and we'll let you know here soon.
Wonderful. I have been Julian.
And I have been Tom. Until next time, everybody.